So this is the ROG Phone 5, the successor to the ROG Phone 3, which in my opinion was the most unique Android smartphone that I've ever come across. You can check out my full review if you're interested in that right over here. But here we are in 2021 with the ROG Phone 5, not the ROG Phone 4 because 4 is an unlucky number in China. But either way, this phone just goes to show how far ASUS can push innovation in a completely different direction. Basically, they were like, you know what? We're going to make a smartphone with the fastest CPU, RAM capacity that's larger than most people's laptops, fastest screen, a unique design with a mind-blowing audio experience, and some cool accessories that will sort of enrich the gaming experience. Now this year they came out with 3 models: the ROG Phone 5, the 5 Pro, and the 5 Ultimate, which is a limited edition. Now, all of these phones or all these models share 90% of the features except for the design IDs, storage configs, and some accessories that are omitted out of the box. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the top 5 features that make this phone stand out from the competition. So let's get started after this. Don't have the time to wait for parts and build your own gaming PC? NZXT Build has your back. Navigate through their simple UI, choose the games you want to play, pick a budget that works, and the configurator will do its magic by offering some options built just for you. Or choose from one of their awesome pre-built setups. Want something more custom? Go crazy building your own dream PC from the ground up. All of these are backed with a 2-year all-in-one warranty on parts, labor, and RAM overclocking. Save your time and start gaming right away with NZXT Build. Check it out down below. Okay, so I'm going to start things off with the design. The ROG Phone series has always maintained an aggressive gamer aesthetic throughout the whole body, but they've actually come a long way since the very first ROG phone. But they're still trying to make it recognizable like every other ROG product, whether if it's a keyboard, a laptop, desktop, accessories, you just name it. So with the base model, you get this glossy black finish with an embedded dot matrix design and an illuminated ROG logo that looks really nice. They've also added a few touches of red accents here and there. The attention to detail, even with the SIM card tray, is well thought out. Now, if we switch gears to the limited edition, ASUS just took things to a whole new level, guys. The entire back comes in this satin white finish along with these embedded black railings that give the phone a cutting-edge vibe. I also like these subtle teal accents. It looks really unique in my opinion. They've also implemented a monochrome PM OLED display, and they call it ROG Vision. Basically, it allows the user to customize an image or text to their liking with different effects, and it turns on depending on what you do with your device. So if you get an incoming phone call, it'll show you this cool animation, and if you're charging, it'll show the battery percentage and the progress, or if you connect an external accessory, it'll show its respective image, which is pretty cool. You see, ASUS isn't trying to stick to the basics like every other smartphone. This is certainly going to spark a conversation with people around you just because of how cool it looks. But that being said, from a usability standpoint, it does get a little bit challenging because if you look at it, it's really massive. I mean, here's a comparison to the Galaxy S21, which in my opinion is the perfect size to handle. But with the ROG Phone 5, even if you have big hands like myself, you will struggle to use it one-handed. And it's also an eyesore when you have this thing in your pocket, especially if you're wearing jeans. Now, if you're using this phone in landscape mode, you wouldn't have to worry too much about handling because you have both hands supporting the device, and there are some bezels at the top and bottom that'll give you something to hold on to. Plus, you do get the Air Trigger 5 feature, which is basically 2 sensors on the edge, and they are fine-tuned compared to the ROG Phone 3 for folks with smaller hands. And the settings can sort of be tweaked through Game Genie, which is built into the Armoury Crate software. So it's nothing really new compared to the ROG Phone 3. They've just sort of refined some of the features with that functionality. The side-mounted ports have been redesigned, so instead of a proprietary dual USB-C layout, you now get a single USB-C port and recessed pins for external accessories to clip onto, and I'll go over them shortly. The next big feature is the display. You're getting a 6.78-inch Full HD screen that supports a refresh rate of 144 Hz, but on top of that, you also get an insanely fast 300 Hz touch sampling rate for fast response times when you're interacting with the content. I was instantly able to see the difference, especially compared to the S21. So this is definitely a bonus if you're a hardcore mobile gamer, which this phone is clearly tailored towards. They've also improved the brightness levels from the ROG Phone 3 from 650 nits to 800 nits, which I'm sure will come in clutch during outdoor sessions. It's also color accurate since every phone comes factory calibrated and it covers more than 100% DCI-P3 color gamut. And when you pair that with an AMOLED display, the visuals are simply put beautiful. Now, just like the ROG Phone 3, you are still getting an in-display fingerprint sensor on the ROG Phone 5, but unfortunately, I did not have the greatest experience with it. It just fails to register my fingerprint most of the times, and it's pretty slow as well, so yeah, that's unfortunate. Next up is the audio experience with the ROG Phone 5. They've actually decided to bring back the 3.5mm headphone jack, which I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate, especially esports gamers, considering that the Phone 3 lacked one. But they've also taken the extra step to implement high-res audio output with a built-in ESS Saber DAC that can easily power headphones with an impedance of up to 600 ohms, which is just bonkers. On top of that, they've actually added custom EQs within the software where you can fine-tune your audio levels depending on your preference, and you can switch between different genres. It's honestly customization taken to a whole new level, and it's something that I still wish some smartphone manufacturers would implement, but I think Asus just delivers. Then there are the dual front-facing speakers. I think it's safe to say that Asus has set the bar when it comes to delivering the best sound quality for a smartphone. I mean, the orientation is just perfect. The bass is filling with excellent fidelity in the trebles. I think this is a great setup for a portable home theater experience, especially if you're watching Netflix or YouTube or just gaming in general. This is honestly, man, I just wish if every smartphone had this sort of setup, but you do get that drawback of those top and bottom bezels, but I think that's completely okay. The next cool feature added to the ROG Phone 5 is the battery configuration. Now, this phone has two separate 3,000 mAh batteries for a grand total of 6,000 mAh, and it actually charges simultaneously when you plug it in. On top of that, they've implemented 65-watt hypercharge, so that means you can juice up the device up to 70% in just 30 minutes. Honestly, for a battery that size, it's pretty amazing. Now, they did go back to the drawing board to redo the thermal and battery design to make it more efficient and safe to use. They've actually done this by using MMT, which stands for middle tab, and that essentially charges the battery from the middle instead of the bottom, which lowers temperature rise when you have this thing plugged in. They've also built in some software optimizations for the battery. Under the battery care tab, you can enable slow charging, which is limited to 18 watts, and you can set charging limit for less battery wear over time. You can also schedule charging if you want to keep the battery percentage lower overnight so that you're not putting any wear on the battery by leaving it to 100% for hours while you're sleeping. You see, for a phone that packs the fastest SoC, in this case the Snapdragon 888, 12 to 18 gigabytes of RAM on the limited edition model, and a 144 Hz display, having a larger battery is crucial to power all that madness. So this thing is guaranteed to last you long enough for your intense gaming or content consumption needs. I've been having some trouble trying to kill this thing in a single day with a few hours of gaming and, of course, my usual routine of smartphone usage. So that definitely says something. All right, so the last feature I want to cover are the accessories that complete this whole portable gaming setup. And having played around with these for a while, I think I've come to realize that this is the proper way to game. Check this out, guys. This is the ROG Kunai 3 gamepad that comes bundled with a protective case for easier transportation. In it, you've got the controller and the charger base built in, along with a grip that attaches to the whole unit itself for a comfortable experience, and a bumper that allows the user to detach the left and right controllers from the charging base and attaches to the phone itself, transforming this whole thing to handheld mode. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm not a super hardcore mobile gamer, but I do love racing games, and I've been playing a lot of Asphalt 8 during my leisure, and it's just so refreshing to interact with the game using proper joysticks and physical buttons instead of just using touchscreen and, of course, tilting the phone back, left and right, because you not only have something comfortable to hold on to, but you get these buttons and there's not any distractions happening while you're looking at the display. It just elevates that gaming experience and it just enables you to focus on what you're doing. Now, you can also use the controller in Bluetooth mode when you attach it back to the charging base, but personally, I prefer this handheld style. And what's even cool is that you can also attach the Aero Active cooler by simply clipping it on, and it works flawlessly. You can also adjust the fan speeds through Armoury, and they've actually designed this phone in such a way that the processor is right in the center where it makes direct contact with that Aero Active fan cooler to dissipate the heat in a more efficient manner. So I think they've really thought about this really well, and there are no limiting factors, because I actually came out with an interesting idea for someone who is super hardcore into mobile gaming, because with this whole crazy setup, you're definitely going to run out of battery at some point. So I thought maybe, if you add a portable battery solution, something that supports 65-watt charging, you can simply use the side-mounted USB-C port, which is still accessible with the Aero Active Cooler attached, and you now have yourself this awesome portable ultimate gaming setup. You can call it whatever you want, but I think it's so unique and so cool that this is probably going to be my sort of gaming setup or mobile gaming setup moving forward. Now, I do have to mention that not all games support the controller. You actually have to go through mapping them manually, which works in some instances, and in other cases it just is really difficult to get it working. So that's something to keep note of. But overall, if you find the games that work natively with this controller, it's such an awesome experience, and I just can't go back to using the smartphone itself. That's how spoiled I've become with this setup. So that pretty much wraps up my top 5 features about the ROG Phone 5. Let me know what you guys think about this phone, and if you find any of these features really cool and unique compared to the competition. And if you're a hardcore mobile gamer, I want to know your thoughts about this. Is this something that you would consider as your next purchase or an upgrade? Yeah, I'm really curious to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.